Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Boy, we are right in the thick of winter now. I hope winter is going good wherever you are at. Well, today I get to profile an entrepreneur from Kansas. Mr. Brian Sieker is coming on to talk about how and why he started his business, New Ag Supply. Man, really excited about this interview because we touch on a point that I talk about a lot, which is he wanted to go back to his farm, couldn't really find jobs in that area, and so he started a business to enable him to live where he wanted to live and farm where he could farm, and it is working out great. Really excited to profile this. Let's get it started right now. Brian, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You bet. I really appreciate you reaching out to me on Twitter and making the connection. I'm excited to profile your business and talk about what you've been doing out there in Kansas.
Yep. I enjoy listening to your podcast. There's a lot of good insight that I've picked up over the last couple of years from it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm flattered you've been listening that long. That's great.
Yep. It definitely helps pass the time, swathing and harvesting and tractor time for sure.
Well, I am thrilled about that. I'm very, very honored that you do that, that anybody who's farming is listening to me at least tells me I'm doing something that is relevant to agriculture, which is what I'm trying to do. So I like the reassurance. Thank you for that. Well, let's do this, Brian. Let's start off like I start off all my shows. I'd love to have you just kind of introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and what you do.
Yeah. So I farm with my dad in central Kansas. I've got 3 kids under 6, a 6-year-old little girl, a 3-year-old boy, and a 1-year-old boy. When I had my daughter, I was a salesman for a planter manufacturer and was traveling very heavily, and was ready for a change of pace in life, and wanted to have my kids the opportunity to grow up on the farm. So in 2014, we moved back to the family farm in central Kansas. We grow wheat, alfalfa, corn, soybeans, and sorghum, and then also run a cow-calf operation.
Okay, wow, a lot going on. So how long has this farm been in your family?
Some of the ground was homesteaded by probably about 5 or 6 generations back.
Oh, wow.
The farm where we're at now, my grandfather started over here at Chase. We have family over at Ellenwood that farm too, and we've been here about 60 years.
Okay.
At this spot. So, and the ground here is some of the ground that's been homesteaded where the farm's at.
Okay. And was there always room for you to come home to the farm, or was it the type of deal where like Dad was slowing down a little bit and needed some more help and room opened up? How did that all work out?
You know, I honestly, I didn't plan to come home to the farm. When I went to college, I actually got a business degree in marketing, and really wanted to do industrial sales and did that for a while, and got into agricultural sales. And I was constantly calling Dad, seeing what he was up to. My drive home from work, almost every day I was calling him. I spent all my vacation time at coming home for wheat harvest and planting wheat. So I was still very involved with the farm, but he was wanting to slow down a little bit and have some more help, and it kind of presented the opportunity and the timing to come back. Was it perfect timing with the farming here in this part of the world? Probably not, but that's what kind of pushed me into starting my business, and that's really helped me along the way. Okay.
Well, so you've got all the different row crops and then cattle. Would you consider yourself primarily a row crop farmer or primarily a cattle raiser?
Probably more of a farmer than a cattle raiser. My dad's a cattleman, and he reminds me of that when we're moving cattle. So, but I primarily do all the planning and all the harvesting on the farm, and a lot of the agronomic work, working with agronomists and things like that.
Okay. Very good. And so this has been going on for some time, and then along the lines, you started a business called New Ag Supply. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, I started out in, not too long after I moved back. I did some manufacturing repping because that's more the world I came out of.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2016, I decided to start selling more direct to farmers and started New Ag Supply, and built my website and started to go to farm shows more under that business name.
Mm-hmm.
And really it took time to get going, and because you're new. I mean, it takes time to get a business going. So did that, and about 2017 it caught on a little bit more. And then 2018, and then this year I've had really great years, and really has gave me the opportunity to grow my business.
Great. Well, tell us about your business. So what does New Ag Supply do?
So I focus mainly on planters, seeding, and then harvesting attachments. So your mainline dealer will sell the planter, but a lot of times you need residue managers for no-till applications, or I really specialize in closing wheels and matching farmers up to what's going to work best for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as harvesting, I do crop lifters and specialty concaves. Try to focus more on the niche products and the specialty stuff more than the commodity-based products. But with the planter stuff, I really try to work with farmers to provide them a real superior product and use my planning knowledge to do that.
Okay. So is there, as I'm listening to you talk about this, I'm picturing the area that I live in, which I know I need to picture the area you live in. But as I'm picturing where I live in, if I was to start something like this, I think people would ask me, why would I come to you when I could go down to the dealership right down the road for this type of stuff? So how are you able to carve out a niche, I guess, and compete with different dealerships that might be selling similar or the same equipment?
With my business, I run pretty low overhead.
Okay.
Because I run it off the farm.
Okay.
I don't have a retail location yet. It's something that I'm working on, but so I'm able to keep my prices well, and then also provide the knowledge. I mean, that's really what I focus on, is having the product knowledge to help a guy out. And the internet's been great. I mean, Twitter's been great. I use Facebook a little bit, but just reaching out to people and learning what they're doing, seeing their issues, and just trying to help guys out with their problems with their planner. But being an internet-based business, I ship all over the place. I've shipped from California to Maine and Florida all the way up to Washington. So, I mean, the stuff goes everywhere. But the main thing is, with my background with the planter manufacturer, I planted about anything you can think of for the planter. So, and been around agriculture and, all the 48 lower states. So that's really what's helped me with my business and understanding on what products do well with what crops, and really, tying that knowledge back and using it to my advantage there.
So are you keeping inventory there on your farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I stock quite a few planter parts, and ship all winter long.
Okay.
In the winter, my business is 80% of my time, and the farm turns into 20.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the planting season though is over, or the rush for parts, I'm more 80% farm and 20% my business.
Okay.
And it's been good for me starting out, but for me to be able to hire, I need to fill in that other time.
Now, give us an example of how you've used Twitter to grow your business and to find customers.
The main thing I do is try to post relevant information, and share with people why you'd want to look at or consider a product. I try to post something, once a day, as far as one of my suppliers or just something in general that I think is relative to the time. And just, put myself out there and connect. If somebody's got a question, answer that notification and respond to them. I mean, that's been the biggest thing. And, but just connecting with people and getting to know them, getting to know their farm, getting to know their needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's really helped to be able to match those products to the things they're needing. And a lot of the products I use myself on my own farm.
Okay.
My planter is, it's got 12 different closing wheels across the back. So I'm trying to learn so I can better serve my customers.
Mm-hmm.
The crop lifters that I sell for harvest, especially in the fall, I'm using them. I can tell you how they work on a header because, I use them every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with Twitter, I mean, the main thing is put out good, relevant information. Don't copy and paste. I mean, and be original with your tweets.
Okay.
And you can find good results.
Yeah, really interesting. I have a Twitter account. Obviously, that's how you and I connected, but it's probably, as far as me promoting my business, is probably what I use the least. That's probably a mistake, but it's what I use the least. But I know there's this movement, or there's this, I don't know, this group of people that are farming that are communicating constantly on Twitter. I know it's a big deal there, and I just haven't quite got into it that deep. But I know it's there, and it sounds to me like you've tapped into that as well.
Yeah, it's Ag Twitter is its own beast.
Yeah.
You can get Data Live if you don't watch it. You gotta think about what you're doing on there. But there's a lot of good information. There's a lot of really great people that I've got to meet through that medium.
Mm-hmm.
Moving back to the farm when you've been gone over 10 years, it was a little harder. It was kind of nice to have be able to network that way and meet people that way.
Yeah.
Because I found suppliers on Twitter. I've found customers. I've found people that I consider great friends that I would have never met.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Well, it's a fascinating place, and like I said, I know there's this large ag movement there on Twitter that I've just never. I don't know. For me, for some reason, I don't ever feel like I know what to write on Twitter. You're very comfortable with it and you've got it down, but I always feel like I should be posting something there, but I have no idea what to say. How do you get that figured out?
It's a lot of it's just being original. I mean, that's my biggest thing. Be original with what you're saying and be confident in what you're saying and your message. For you, I mean, doing your FFA podcast, there's a lot of people that relate to that.
Sure.
I think you can find some more people to learn about you that way too.
Yeah.
But the main thing is just have relevant things, and tell your story in an original manner. Don't embellish, and you'll have good success with Twitter and getting to meet people that way.
Yeah. I need to do more of that, and I think I'll give it another try. You're inspiring me here, Brian. That's
Okay.
I appreciate that. Well, so let me ask you about this. So you're carrying inventory there at your farm, but you made mention that you've shipped stuff from California to Maine. So do you have some like drop shipping agreements and things like that?
Yeah. Those take time to get, but once you start hitting some volumes, you can negotiate with UPS or XPO, whoever it is, for freight and small package shipping. I have UPS come here every day. Being in a rural area, I know my drivers.
Mm-hmm.
They know when I'm busy. They know when I'm slow. And they'll text me like this time of year, do you have any overnight? Because, with Christmas and everything, it greatly affects that. So, the main thing is if you are going to be doing some shipping from your farm, build those relationships and get to know them, because they'll work with you, if you take the time to get to meet them.
Okay. Well, so let me ask you about getting started doing something like what you're doing, because there's got to be somebody else out there listening who is doing something maybe not identical to what you're doing, but they're going, well, there's people that need the parts or the equipment that I use and that I know very well. When you're getting started doing something like this, and you're going to have to be shipping, you're going to have to be building a website, you're going to have to be carrying inventory, which requires your capital. How do you get those startup funds for that? How did you do that?
So to start out, I've bootstrapped everything. There's no, maybe I've put $1,000 of my money into my business.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is when I first started, I didn't carry much inventory. I had some great suppliers that helped me and drop ship for me, and I still have them drop ship for me when it's smart for me to do. I've started to have more of a local following, which to me is odd because most of my stuff ships far away. But that's when I've started to stock more stuff, and reinvest back in my business through inventory, and try to take advantage of seasonal pricing. Like, for example, planters. The world ends in May as far as parts.
Right.
Well, in June, those suppliers are saying, "Hey, we want to keep shipping.
Yeah.
Here's some extra discount if you buy it now."
Okay.
Or July, and it took time to get that and be able to do that. So, more recently, I've borrowed money at times since I've got some track record and got some loans for some inventory. But my first 3 years, I don't think I could have got anyone to loan me money for inventory because I just didn't have the sales to justify it. The history. Mm-hmm. So, as you're building the business, you just got to realize it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
As much as you want to throw gas on that fire, slow and steady wins the race.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you mentioned that you started in 2016, and you said in 2017 you kind of went, okay, I've got something here. So I always like to ask folks, at what point in the development of your business did you realize it was going to work? It sounds like it was 2017. Can you explain to us what you were seeing that kind of gave you that optimism?
I do a lot on the trade show circuit. I go to a lot of farm shows in this region, from Nebraska to Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, and then I'll go. Last year I went to Louisville for the first time, and this year I'm going to go to Iowa for the first time for a farm show. The first couple of years, people just walk by. See me at a farm show, and they just walk by, and maybe I'd talk to 5 or 6 people in a day, and I was just ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after seeing you and they see your business they might hear of a neighbor using you. My rate of people stopping and saying something or talking to me has gone way up.
Okay.
And that's really what happened in 2017 is people started to see my branding, my business in multiple locations and realize, hey, this is a relevant business.
Yeah.
And, being on the farm and not having a big sign on the highway or, I have neighbors today that have no idea what I do for my business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But that it just takes some time to build that relevance to people and that trust.
Mm-hmm.
They got to trust that if they buy a product from you, you're going to be there to service it and take care of it and give them the parts when they need it. It just all takes time. But the main thing I started to do was advertise a little differently. I did some Twitter advertising. I've done some Facebook advertising. I do some Google advertising,
mm-hmm.
and that's helped broaden the world quite a bit.
Okay. So it sounds to me like the signal to you was people started taking your business a little seriously, or they saw you there a few times, they heard about you, and they thought you were worth their time. You were worth it to stop and talk to.
Yeah, that was going to provide them some value.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you want a relevant business. Provide value to your customers.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, speaking of providing value, really quick, Brian, I'm going to take a moment to acknowledge a couple of our sponsors. And everybody, I want to make sure and mention Lacrosse boots. Man, the Alpha Range boots I have been using here on my farm for a little over a year and a half now, couple different seasons, and they were the answer I was looking for. The Alpha Range boots from Lacrosse Footwear, they are built to work as hard as you, and I can testify to that, no problem. They are ideal for chores around the house and the farm. They're waterproof, comfortable, available for both men and women, and I want to say they are tough. I irrigate in them all summer. I'm out in the mud and the muck in them all winter, and they stand up to every rock that I slide off of walking through our creek every morning going out to irrigate, and certainly they'll work great for you. So make sure you're checking them out over at lacrossefootwear.com, everybody, and drop them a line. Let them know that you heard about them right here on the Off-Farm Income Podcast. And also want to mention Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment, everybody. Fine squeeze chutes, runways, panels, calf tables, whatever you need for your large livestock handling needs, they have got it. And I have toured their factory. I've seen how they weld it all together. They make fantastic equipment. And I've been a fan of this company ever since I was a kid down in the Central Valley of California working with cattle. And now today I get to be a part of their journey. So proud to do that, and I hope you will be as well. Go on over to powderriver.com, checking out everything they've got to offer, and let them know I sent you to them. All right. Well, Brian, let's do this. I want to ask you for advice for people listening. So if somebody were to come up to you at one of these shows and they were to say, I'm inspired by what you do, and I want to start a business like yours, but I'm going to do it in X, meaning they're not going to be a competitor to you, but they want the same business model. What advice would you give them when they're first starting out?
Definitely pick products and a business that you have a higher level of knowledge in. Definitely, pick something you're passionate about. That's what's going to carry you through getting started in the tough times.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be passionate about what you do. And as you're picking a product to sell, pick one that really wants you. I had a lot of suppliers that when I first started told me no.
Okay.
That I wanted to sell their product. And then I had suppliers that wanted me. And that made a world of difference. Like, for example, the regional rep for Yetter really wanted to work with me. And I didn't know if that's really, at that time I was still between the world of a manufacturer's rep, setting up dealers,
Mm-hmm.
and selling direct. And he really pushed me to sell direct and use my knowledge to help farmers. And that's one of the best things that's ever happened to my business, was having someone that wanted me to be successful. And that's what I would tell a guy is find a partner, a business that wants to work with you and wants to be in your area, with a product that you're passionate about. And I mean, that's the thing I would highly recommend to someone starting out, is to really think about that aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's all kinds of companies out there that are looking for people to sell their product in new areas or areas that are underserved. You just got to really, go out and try to find them too. I mean, don't wait for them to call you. Go pick out the ones you want and start calling. I mean, that's how I got started. I had some relationships before I started my business, and that greatly helped. But there's a lot of them that I started from scratch.
So it sounds to me like the way you got started was these companies, they were looking for somebody to sell and distribute their products in your geographic area, right?
Correct.
But then you were able, once you got the relationship developed and once you had the access to their inventory, then you were able to take it to wherever you wanted it to go to Maine, to California, to wherever. You were able to go all around the nation and really expand your business. But it was that desire for them to sell in your geographic location that developed the relationship or got it started in the first place.
Yeah, and they all knew that I would sell outside my geographic area because, I had relationships all over the country.
Okay.
With farmers. It was more of a regional selling always than just real local. I would not have started my business to service, the neighboring 3 counties.
Okay.
However you want to put it. I had to have my business cover a larger area, or it wouldn't be successful. There's just not enough. There's too much competition just to try to focus on a tight area, and that's what the internet's done. I mean, that's what that's for, is to be able to broaden your reach and broaden your customer base.
Now, when you were coming back to the farm in 2014, did you know that you were going to have to work off the farm as well, or is this something that you started for a different reason? Like, if you had not started New Ag Supply, would you be working a full-time job off the farm somewhere?
I don't know if I'd have a full-time job, but I knew I needed to do something.
Okay.
I made a deal with my wife that if we moved back to the farm, she'd be home and help raise the kids.
Okay.
And that was something that was very important to me. So I knew that I needed to supplement farming. How I was going to do that, I didn't know at that time. I'd been working in sales, so I thought it would be something sales related. So the thought crossed my mind of working somewhere else, but you don't have the flexibility to be able to farm when you need to farm. The time off, you need to take the time off in our kind of operation and timing. We do a lot of alfalfa. It takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of work. So I needed that flexibility and start my own business. Granted me that. And, like I said, I didn't start out with a whole lot of money in my business. So, I guess I was a little more risky with it, because I I didn't have as much to lose.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and that's something I talk about all the time, and that's why I'm a proponent of entrepreneurship, is because if you're farming, you do need that flexibility so you can be on your farm when you need to be on your farm. And it sounds to me like you had the exact same thought when it came to producing supplemental income.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. The flexibility, because I came here first to farm.
Mm-hmm.
Business was, a number two.
Yeah.
As far as, at this point, my business is right there with the farm is as important to the farm.
Mm-hmm.
It's gave me the opportunity to take less from the farm for the table.
Yeah.
And invest more in the farm.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I have the same story. I started my first business to give me the flexibility to be able to be home on the farm and to be here when I needed to be. And for me, that was, to be here when a heifer's calving or something like that. But what I've noticed over time, and I had never been in business for myself until I started this, but what I've noticed over time is that I never expected this, but running and operating my own business is very, very, I don't know, it's exciting. I really enjoy it. And so now I find myself, I guess, as excited or maybe almost as excited about running and growing my business, now my broadcasting business, as I do the farm. I would have never expected that going in. Have you had a similar experience to that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I knew I could have a good business, but it's been beyond my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of always thought it was something I was going to do. And now I'm at the point and I'm trying to hire, people to help me. It's given me the opportunity to not only do it for myself and my family, but
mm-hmm.
My community as well, maybe offer a couple more jobs.
Yeah.
Or the opportunity for even more jobs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing. And, when I graduated with a business degree, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for me here.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved to Kansas City and lived up there for about 8 years.
Okay.
And, actually, you said you ate at Jack Stack a while back.
I did.
I lived a couple blocks from there, actually, at one point.
Okay.
I lived in the city. I mean, it was interesting, but I didn't have the opportunity to move home to the farm and have a job.
Yeah.
Here. So if I can give my kids or someone else's kids here in this area opportunity for a professional job,
mm-hmm.
I think that's my next big win.
Well,
and that's really what I'm hoping to do.
So you're essentially, at the beginning of every show, I always remind people of our online course called the Ag Entrepreneur. And I partnered with a company to make that, but they've got their reasons for doing it. I've got my reasons for doing it. But one of my major reasons for doing it are the kids I interview on the show who are in the FFA who say, I would love to come back here and farm, but I'm probably going to have to go off to this place or to that place and get a job because I can't, there's no room for me to come home and have the farm support me, and there's no jobs for me here to work outside of the farm, and so I got to go off to this other place and get a job. And so for me, teaching people about entrepreneurship, I mean, you're like the prime case study of what I'm trying to tell the people, which is let's teach people that they can come back and they can start their own business. At the very least, they can come back. At the very most, they can create jobs so other people can stay in the community. That's exactly what you just said. I'm just pumped to hear you say that and kind of affirm what I've been hypothesizing.
Yeah, I mean that. To me, there, it's an excuse if you say there's not a job for you, and that was my excuse. I'll admit that.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I've learned, the more I've been around it. We need to teach our young people about entrepreneurship. You're exactly right, because you can have a business and you can have it anywhere.
Yeah.
you've never been to Chase, Kansas, but this is a small town.
Mm-hmm.
I call it in Kansas. We have classifications as our schools. We're a 1A school, and I call it a half A.
Okay, I get that.
I graduated with 9 to 10 kids in my class.
Uh-huh.
And 3 were exchange students. So, you can do this kind of business anywhere. It's just a matter of believing in yourself and getting going with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power of the internet that we have today, and how small the world's become. You can do it about anywhere. You can freelance up in the mountains somewhere for marketing.
Yeah.
You can, you just have to have the desire to want to be where you want to be,
mm-hmm.
and make it work.
Yep. Well, I couldn't.
So I'm kind of interested in when this is over, let's talk more about your program. My school doesn't have an FFA, but there's a couple around me that I want to share that program with them.
Oh, sure.
And let's talk more about that.
Hey, you bet. I'd be happy to. I think it's a really quality. I believe that if somebody follows that course all the way through, and they follow what we teach, that they're going to start a business that's going to have a very, very high chance of being a successful business. That doesn't mean they're going to be driving Maseratis out to their combine, but it means that they're going to have a sustainable business that can employ other people and can make a living for them. It's going to allow them to live where they want to live. So to me, it's really, really important, because I hate to see rural communities boarding up. I hate to see them shrinking. I hate to see crime in rural communities. I hate to see loss of those values. And I think it's because so many people have to leave, or they think they have to leave to be able to make a living. And I think that entrepreneurship is one of the things that will help revitalize our rural communities. So I'll be happy to talk with you about that, but definitely want to get that plug in, because I really do think that's a benefit of it.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me ask you about your business. So when you were starting this, did you write a business plan?
I did.
Okay.
In Kansas, we have quite a few resources for starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I used those resources, and had a guy come and we worked on a business plan. If you looked at my business today versus that original business plan,
mm-hmm.
it's way different.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point. It's going to give you it kind of gave me some groundwork of what I wanted to do. And if I would have went out for funding, it would have been very important to have a business plan,
right
off the bat.
Right. And did you incorporate or form an LLC or anything like that, or did you stay a sole proprietor?
I have an LLC. Right now, I tax as a sole proprietor, but I'm planning to change how I do that.
Mm-hmm.
To possibly allow some outside investment as I want to grow. So definitely forming an LLC was a very wise decision, and I did that fairly early on. But I was focused on my business and wanted it to be successful, so I put the effort in to get that done.
Mm-hmm. And so since you've started, have you grown, or you said that, it looks nothing like your original business plan. Have you grown or developed or added more products or services since you first started?
Oh, yeah. So when I first started, I did not plan on selling direct to farmers.
Okay.
My business was more focused on dealership development and finding manufacturers that
mm-hmm.
were looking for dealers and need those dealers serviced. There's a whole world of manufacturers reps out there, and most are over the age of 65.
Okay.
So I thought that would be an opportunity for me to pick up some lines, but Kansas is kind of a different kind of animal. Mainline dealers like to sell mainline. They want it to come in that green, red, or yellow box, a blue box,
mm-hmm.
or out of that truck. So a lot of short line manufacturers we're looking for people to sell, and that's when my business kind of pivoted more to selling direct to farmers and providing those products and making them available to them a lot easier to buy.
Is this outside of farming? Is New Ag Supply, is that your sole form of off-farm income?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So you're a full-time entrepreneur / farmer, or a full-time farmer / entrepreneur, however you want to put that.
Depending on the month of the year, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Now, was there ever anything that was holding you back? Did you have to overcome any internal resistance or any self-doubt or anything like that to go out and start your own business?
Well, when you're first starting out, you put a lot of time in for little reward, and for my with my parents on the farm, that was kind of tough. I mean, they, what are you doing? What are you working on? We got this to do, that to do, combine to blow off, and I'm trying to go to a trade show or deliver product to a customer. I mean, it took some delicate times with that. And then also, just building and starting out, if I didn't have some of those suppliers that really pushed me to get going, it would have been really hard. Because a lot of suppliers want, hey, we want you to be doing this much in sales and, have a location and all this stuff. And that wasn't my business model. So, I had a lot of resistance from them that, hey, I don't know if we want you selling our product because your model's different than what we're used to. So, I mean, I had a lot of struggle that way too. But, the main thing was, starting out, and I couldn't buy the minimum quantities to be competitive, and having to sell at a disadvantage in margin to a lot of other dealers. It's one of those things you just got to look out and say, there's an opportunity to do that kind of stuff. I got to get there. What do I need to do to get there? And strive to hit those goals. It was tough starting. I mean, it wasn't real easy. Cause you get a lot of no's starting out because people just, in my kind of business, they have to be able to call me, say, hey, my planner's not working.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? And I can answer those questions, but to get those guys to trust me and call, and it took a lot of time.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's what, that's part of the reward, I think, is you put in all that time wondering, hoping, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And then all of a sudden it's like somebody flipped a switch, and then all of a sudden you've got more business than you can handle, and people are relying on you as a resource.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's more switches to flip. I mean, there's more goals to hit. There's more opportunity out there, and now I'm in a different level of questions and worrying and trying to figure stuff out. So that's what's been exciting, and I've really enjoyed starting my own business for that. I mean, every day's different.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I want to ask you this. I'm asking you for all this advice. I always love to ask our guests if they can remember one of the best pieces of business advice that somebody else has given to them.
Yep. I was on a board for a college organization after school, and I was in salaried sales jobs, and I mean, you put a lot of work in for your salary, and any extra work might not be rewarded. The situation there.
Right.
And I had a gentleman tell me, the best thing you can do in your life in sales is work on a commission and work for yourself. And, I put a lot of thought into that, and, went back to the job that I currently had at the time, and talk to them about, hey, how about some sort of commission structure? Because I'm a very goal oriented person. Throw out that target and let me figure out how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't excited about that, and that was kind of a thing that kind of helped me push to move home.
Okay.
But that piece of advice, work for yourself and work on a commission. When you own your own business, you're on commission.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're farming, if you don't get what you need done, you're not going to get it on the back end.
Right.
You're working on a commission. So that would be the one piece of advice I'd have for someone. If they're struggling in a position that they feel like they need to be making more, find yourself in a position to earn a commission.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and earn it. It's a test. You're either going to make it or not.
That's right.
But that's your best way to get ahead in this world is to have a job like that.
Let me ask you about that. Did you want to go to commission based because you felt like, with the level of work I'm already doing, if I'm on a commission based, I'll make more money? Or did you want to go to a commission based because you felt like, if I'm 100% commission, or if I'm a reduced salary and I make up the gap with commission, it's going to force me to push harder?
The push harder, but I was already 100% in and pushing.
Okay.
I just saw what I felt at the time, and every employee feels that maybe they're worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they just want to prove that.
Yeah.
And the best way to prove that with, if you're when I'm trying to hire, I want a guy that wants commission, because I know he's hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number one sign that someone's hungry.
Yeah.
So, that's what I was wanting. I was hungry. I wasn't starving, but I was hungry and wanted to do more. And being on commission is a push.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. I always talk to people about a personal habit, something that you do naturally. You didn't have to read, learn, develop. It just comes to you naturally, but it helps you to be successful. Do you have a personal habit like that, Brian?
I have a fairly good memory.
Okay.
I am not a name memory person, but a situational or if I've seen an issue, mm-hmm. being able to recall a solution to that problem.
Okay.
I think my problem solving skills are probably what helps me the most. That's probably my trait that helps me the most,
mm-hmm.
is memory and problem solving.
It's funny you say that. When I started my very first business, it was exterminating pocket gophers. And it amazed me how I could go back out to a field or to a yard or something like that 2 years later, 3 years later, and I could tell the people, well, you had gophers right here, and the gophers were in this. I could remember it all. And I don't think I have a great memory, but in that particular circumstance, man, it was like a photographic memory almost.
Yeah. Pesky pocket golfers. I deal with them in alfalfa and their sand.
Yep.
They're not fun.
That's why I got the machine and started exterminating them, was alfalfa out here for sure. Well, let me ask you about resources. Has there been a resource, a book, or something like that that's helped you along the way that you'd be willing to share with our listeners?
I'm not a person that gets to read a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to do more of listening to books on audio.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the older I get, the less music I care about, and the more I want to listen to other stuff.
Right.
Like podcasts and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
There's a guy, and I can't think of his name right offhand, but he's got some different sales books, Sales Bible, and some of those kind of things have been really good to read and to listen to and just get ideas from. I really enjoy Malcolm Gladwell books.
Mm-hmm.
I've read quite a few of those on airplanes. It's looking at other situations and trying to pull something out of there that can positively affect you. And honestly, I probably need to do a better job at reading, but that's, whatever medium you can find, just try to find something that you think is going to help give you at least one piece of knowledge a day to do better.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I say that on this show all the time. A lot of times for us to develop our entrepreneurship skills here in agriculture, we have to actually leave agriculture, right? We've got to go outside of ag, see what people are doing in different areas of the economy, like you mentioned Malcolm Gladwell, and then grab pieces of that and then bring that back and make it work over here on the ag side.
And, with the job I had before, I traveled to a lot of farm shows.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to almost all of them in North America, Canada as well. So I got to see a lot of different stuff, and I think that's helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, even, a few weeks back, I went to Agritechnica in Germany. It's a whole different world, a whole different style of farming over there. My goal was just to pick up a couple of things I could bring back and do better with.
Sure.
Did I find that for my business? No. Did I find that for my farm? Probably.
Okay.
But you just got to keep going out there and trying to learn new things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Brian, this has been great. If somebody out there listening, if they would like to know more about your business, if they would like to contact you, how would you want them to go about getting that info or reaching out to you?
They can go to newagsupply.com, and it's got my email and information there to contact me. They can follow me at Sieker Sales. That's SIEKER SALES on Twitter. And more than happy to answer any questions on starting a business or if somebody's going and needs some advice. I'm there to help, and I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Awesome. Well, very good. I'll link up to all that in the show notes so people can find that on my website if they want to. And really appreciate it, Brian. We're airing this about mid-January, but we're recording this right before Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing this today.
Merry Christmas to you too, and thanks again.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you for listening to Brian's story. I hope you enjoyed that. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.